Greatness to you all, you bright shiny people out there in the internet superhighway world. Hello! And those of you who are rocking me on 3G. Do you like your pixels? Can I have pixels? Oh, pixels! Chat not loading, Twitch app's all goofed up, sucks balls. I know what's going on out there. I know what's happening. I've seen it before. I've seen it when I was in the bath and I was trying to watch Ghosty play League of Legends. Then I remembered that I don't like League of Legends and turned it off and watched somebody else. Take that, Ghosty. Take that, my friend. How is everybody? Everybody's looking fucking good. Everyone's look at the turnout today. Awesome people. And the ladies and the men and the gentlemen. And of course, those not so ladylike ladies. I see you out there. I see you out there. We're going to have a debate today. I promise this. This is the last time I'm going to touch on this, probably till like the next expansion. If the daily's still going there, then pretty much, unless there's some major changes or something worth commenting on. I don't want to talk about this subject anymore, but it's worth discussion today. So this is going to be a very chat interactive daily, which is cool. I'm going to be raising some topics. You guys are going to throw your immediate feedback. Things that are not immediate feedback. I need more gear. Nothing drops for me. My guild is the one in a billion guilds that does something opposite of what we say. Right? So if I raise some example, just as an example, like South Shore PvP is dead. Right? Do you remember that? And then that guy. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. It's my guild does it. My guild does it. It's like 4 of you standing South Shore, ganking newbies. Call it World PvP. Don't be that guy. Just don't be that guy. It's alive on my server, bro. Represent, represent. And those, of course, the best one ever, without question, is those lovely people. And I actually respect you guys immensely who are in husband-wife guilds and made it work. Alright? I love you guys. And I'm really genuinely happy that you guys made it work and you met through WoW and all that kind of good stuff. I'm really happy for you. But understand that in general, that shit don't work, right? That shit don't work. In general. But for those of you who made it, cool. I'm glad you met somebody and it's fucking awesome. Yeah, and big respect to the last, the drama we did on Tuesday. For the guy, we pray to you, who put his own wife in Team 2. You, sir, deserve a medal. There was no daily yesterday. There was no daily yesterday and it really annoyed me. It actually infuriated me. I've had to cancel a couple of dailies recently, which I hate. And it's not just because, one, I don't get to do my daily, and if I'm not doing a daily, it kind of pisses me off, right, in general. But also, it actually pisses a lot of you guys off who turn up and I'm not there. So I made a conscious effort making sure every daily goes ahead. And it caused me, like, some problems in IRL. I was like, look, I had to cancel certain things. Like, I can't go, I've got a daily. Bank holiday Monday. A national holiday in the UK, right? It's very difficult for some people who have jobs that aren't this. Who just get a day off. That's it. You can't even go into work. The banks are closed. You can't do anything with money. It's a bank holiday. That's it. You're off work. And I say things like, hey, I don't really just talk to the UK people. In fact, they're one of my smallest audiences. I talk to people all around the world and they don't get a bank holiday, so I don't get a bank holiday either. I live in the internet world. The internet world has no days off. Very difficult. But I had to cancel yesterday because the people next door to me are having work done, and they involves drilling, heavy drilling, and their drilling shook one of the pipes under my bath. You couldn't even make it up, and flooded my downstairs. They flooded my hallway, so I now need a new carpet, and they also flooded part of my front room, which may also need a new carpet. But thank God it was their fault, so I don't have to pay a penny. Ha! Fuck you guys. Fuck you guys. Drilling each other. Drilling each other. It is kind of an old house, so it wasn't that unsurprising. It just, the timing of it was really bad. Not only did I have to work all day with drilling going on, because most people aren't at home during the day, so drilling during the day is actually a good thing. Pisses me off, right? It then caused... I didn't notice either, it was Emma. Emma caused... Why is the house covered in water downstairs? Why am I walking into a swamp? Oh, I don't go anywhere during the day. I'm staying here. I don't know what goes on out behind that door. Fucking, it's a mystery. It's a mystery world behind there. The topic we're going to discuss is the follow-on from Tuesday. On Tuesday... Oh, was it Monday? No, it was Monday. On Monday's daily, we brought up the subject of the subscriber loss in WoW and possible reasons for that. Now... It was a good response, actually, on YouTube. It was a good response. A lot of thumbs down. Totally expect that. What I do ask is there's the usual crew of the thumbs downers. Hello to you guys. And there's also the guys that thumbs down because they disagree with something in the video. Cool. I like that. It's a good reason to thumbs down some things. Like, I don't like that. Can you please leave a comment as to why you disagree with something? That helps. That helps. It really does help me. If you're going to thumbs down because I dislike something that we talked about in the video, have a comment so we can have a debate. So what I asked for is, if you can't post on YouTube, send me an email, right? And about 80 of you did. Cool. Lots of reading for me. Now, in order to prepare for this debate, and again, this is going to be very chat interactive. I want you guys to post your thoughts and opinions as we go through this. I also did something which is against my religion. I don't have many religious feels. Okay, dem feels, I don't have many. One of them, though, it goes against everything in my being, is to go to that one place, the darkest place in the universe. The place we don't venture to. And I don't mean 4chan. I mean the WoW forums, right? The official forums, we don't go there. You don't simply go to the official WoW forums. So, I took on my armor, I packed it in, I got ready, and I went in for you guys. I did it for you guys, okay? I took one for the fucking team, and I went in there. I went in there. The good book, the Facebook, how dare you diss the good book? Jesus. It's not diss the good book. Not on my show. Not on my show. So I went in. I went balls deep. I also went to the WoW US forums to find if anybody was talking about this subject. As there's this big post like, WoW's lost all the subscribers. It hasn't, okay? Thank you to those guys in the YouTube comments, by the way, who went, WoW isn't dying. You got a hold of the signal right there, my friend. You got a hold of the signal. Your sarcasm meter is off the fucking chain. You got it. There's a topic, there's actually a rather large topic on both the EU and the US forums regarding the subject, with various different thoughts and opinions. And surprisingly enough, it is not full of ridiculous comments, which is awesome, right? So weird. So weird is that it's full of a few, of course, but there's generally a really good debate going on for reasons and all kinds of other stuff. Firstly, your emails that came through. So I got quite a few, and you actually talked about a different... I know, madness. I'll link it for you, man, so you can have a read through it while we're talking. I'll link the EU one. There we go. There you go for you chat guys out there. A couple of emails actually were quite interesting. Some of you posted your thoughts and opinions on what we could do to change it. Now, the whole reason we're going to talk about this is because the community, that's you guys... actually, you have a rather large voice. Unfortunately, your voice is generally drowned out by morons. Okay? We've all been there. The guy who shouts the loudest and has the worst possible opinion on anything is generally the guy who gets heard more, which is kind of sad sometimes. It's kind of sad. That's why the WoW forums are kind of scary, because it's full of people bleating like sheep, bleating about nonsense, and all sorts of craziness that doesn't make any sense. Is it me, or does Vanquisher tokens never drop? Is it me, or do my weapons never drop? Is it me, or do only DK gear drop? Is it me, blah, 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 blah. You know the usual story, right? You guys have been there. And some of you did post, so it's you. I'm too opinionated, I know, man, I'm too opinionated. So you did come up with some good ideas, but in fact, some of you took a different note with this, which was cool. You in fact posted as to why you stick around. Very interesting to me, So you posted, hey, I get that this is a problem, blah, 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 blah. I get what we're talking about, but this is why I'm still here. This is what I do in my spare time. And I spotted a trend. Now, of course, it's a small sample based on my channel, okay? So we're just over 40,000 people. Thumbs up to that, by the way. And we had this whole charade of people sharing their opinions. I think about 4,000 or 5,000 people watched that video. To give some kind of feedback. So not a great sample compared to 8.3 million, right? Why aren't you subscribed to my channel? Oh, I don't know. PvP. I get you. I see what you're coming from. And so you posted why you stick around. Now the trend, in fact, was the older players. Not the newer players, of which there are many. A lot of newer players find their way to my channel. In fact, my original plan for the channel was for the newer players. I don't care much about older players in terms of doing them guides, right? A lot of people really don't understand that, okay? Can I just point out as well, not all my videos are guides. Especially the ones where they haven't changed a little tiny bit, right? Do you get I'm not doing a guide for that? It's usually in the video. Hey, this class hasn't changed. This is not a guide. In fact, the title of the video doesn't even say guide. It says a look at or an update. Something like that. Get it? Got it? Good. Right. So, it was all the older players. The newer players didn't say anything. So I imagine the newer players are the ones falling into the trap of the usual stuff. The cesspool guilds. Getting to LFR. Killing Lei Shen. And leaving the game. Okay, it's the newer players who really aren't sticking around, which is surprising, right? You'd expect it to be more of the older players who are kind of growing tired of the game and leaving. Not quite true for it to judge from the feedback. It's not quite the case. In fact, it's the newer players. It's the people who've heard of this thing called World of Warcraft. And they join the game. And they come into the game and expect all kinds of things. And they go and explore the world for a very limited amount of time because you can level pretty easily, even as a brand new player without heirlooms. They then roll a DK, of course, goes without saying. And then they go into their 5-mans and pretend to tank, kind of. Then they go into LFR and they kill the last boss and it's kind of it. And then they leave the game. So that's one of the big fucking problems, right? I wouldn't even say that. A younger audience with a shorter attention span, why should they stick around? What reason have they got? That's the question I put to you. What reason has a newer player got to stick around? Not many, but we'll get into that shortly. So the older players were sending me ideas of what they were doing with their time. They understand the issues. They understand the issues of the game, but they don't care. As older players, they know a lot more stuff is out there. They know a lot more because they came from previous expansions. One good email came in from, I want to say Patrick, but it's actually got no T, so I'm going to say Parik. Okay, Parik. Parik started during the Anchorage war effort in Vanilla. That's when he started, one of these older players. This was a good example. And he's been a GM. He's done all kinds of crazy things. He's had a great time through WoW, and he's stopped raiding now. He stopped raiding, doesn't have the time for it. He's become one of those older guys. But he's fully aware that there's not really been an MMO that's dwarfed it in before Neverwinter, and that therefore he hasn't had an idea to switch. He hasn't cared. This is a better game for me. I've got some history here. There's not been a new game released that has made me want to leave what I have behind, which is a great thing WoW has, right? Especially for older players. It's a great, great fucking thing, is that there's a lot of commitment and time gone into some people's characters, especially the older players. It's not going to be the game with slightly better professions or the game with slightly better gameplay that's going to ever pull those players away. It needs to be really, really good. It needs to be stupendously good in order to let people give up sort of 4 or 5 years worth of character progression in history. It's going to be something like that. And he came up with the way he spends his time is he started making twink guilds, and he's a GM of about 5 guilds. Now, not level 19 guilds, previous expansion twink guilds. Now, it's not something I'm into. Not something I'm into. Twinking, but it's interesting that people came up with really obscure ways of spending their time in WoW to actually avoid what is currently the end game. They actually went out of their way to do crazy things to avoid the end game, and that's kind of one of the things that's going on, especially with the older players. A lot of people into transmogging. Some items they wanted for years, and they love it, and they farm it, and they really enjoy it. In fact, the success of the transmog competitions is testament to that. We now have something like 60 or 70 entries every couple of weeks trying to just improve their transmogs ever so slightly. All these silly things that actually avoid the end game. A lot of people don't like the end game anymore. They don't enjoy it whatsoever. In fact, that was a general theme throughout a lot of the emails I got sent, is we don't like the end game. We don't like it. It's too simple, too boring. I'm not really into it. And after I've killed a boss, I don't have much interest in killing it again. Now, this comment came in at least 2/3 of the emails. At least 2/3 of the emails saying, once I've killed a boss, I have no interest in killing it again. Now, I'm not sure if that's something people have picked up from my channel, as that has always been the case with me. If I kill a boss once, I have very little interest in killing it again. Very, very little. The only reason is that I have done it and have done farm raiding is because I know that the next tier of raiding requires me to have better gear. I was never the guy who used to alt raid. Never. You would have. I've probably done what, 3,000-4,000 raids in my time, something like that. Probably untold amounts of hours I've spent wiping on bosses over and over and over again, chasing something, playing to the best of my ability, really pushing myself over and over and over again. No alt raids. Nothing. In kill count lost, one of the best guilds, if not the best guild I ever played in. I had my warrior. I had alts. Never played them. Never played them. In Darkstorm, I had my DK. World first DK. Never alt raided. I joined one, I think, out of memory that was on my prop paladin for about 3 bosses and then left because they didn't have a tank. I was like, I'll join for an hour, then I want to leave. I have no interest in killing bosses and gearing alts particularly, which is strange given my job, right? So that kind of stuff doesn't appeal to me at all, but people like that and they find a way to do it. Alt raiding is something people really, really enjoy. One of the reasons that put me off, in fact, continuing with the end game race. Not only do I not have the time, but I don't want to alt raid. And right now, it is a requirement to alt raid in most guilds, especially if I was to stay in Method. I would pretty much need an alt immediately and need to keep it as geared as my main. Oh, double dailies? Fuck my life. No way. No way. So then we go into some other comments that I want to bring up. Because I do read your comments, by the way. I do read them. As much as some of them are really bizarre. People talking about all kinds of different things, like TBC had catch-up mechanics, blah, 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 blah. I mean, one of the main points we raised, which is the kind of where I want to start on the discussion. I raised the point that WoW is the only RPG I've ever known that actively endorses you skipping its own content. And I don't understand it. Not many people came back with some feedback for that. Not many people. So I kind of want to throw that out there to you guys right now. I pointed out that I've never understood the idea of any catch-up mechanic at all, and I think it's detrimental to the game. I have no clue why we need to catch up. Why any player who joins a mid-expansion needs to go immediately to the end game. I don't understand that. Now, without going rose-tinted on this, I clearly remember that a good aspect of vanilla, which we will talk about in the vanilla PvE video, which is coming as soon as it's finished, it's kind of an important video, was that at all stages of the game, it didn't matter when you joined, there was a guild that suited you. There was a guild that suited you. So if you joined late in vanilla, you didn't go straight to Nax. In fact, you started at Molten Core, but that didn't matter because Molten Core was new to you. Okay, it's as new as any other part of the game. You started with your Molten Core Elixir. Even up until the day that WoW Classic finished, people were still raiding Molten Core. There were new guilds started that were 40-man raiding Molten Core and Elixir. There were guilds doing Blackwing Lair, moving on to Ahn'Qiraj, and so on and so forth. It did create problems. Like I say, I don't want to be rose-tinted. Generally what happened is Nax was very difficult, relatively speaking. Some research into Nax shows wasn't that bad. Compared to today anyway, is that you would cherry pick other players and certain guilds would get frustrated and lost being in the middle and feeding other guilds. Feeder guilds was quite a common thing. You would have some guild that was permanently stuck with heroes who were really drawn into it. Okay, so let's have a look at some feedback here. I'm loving going through Kara, Maggie, Gruel's Lair. Nobody ever loved... Let's be careful with claiming Magtheridon was a good time. Anybody who did original Magtheridon, god damn sure knows it's bad. Catch-up should be for alts, not mains. Now, it's an interesting point, that, Joker. Catch-up alts is quite an important topic. In fact, in both the US and the EU topics regarding the subject, alts was a major topic, is we do not have a way without catch-up to gear alts. It's hard for me to argue with that, because can you have a system that allows alts to get gear that doesn't affect players who don't have any gear to start with? And I don't want to talk about gear particularly. A lot of people read into what we're talking about and say something like, oh my god, you're not a special snowflake anymore. Everybody wants to be the top guy and look down on other players. It's not about that at all, okay? It's a really ignorant, sort of stupid way to look at this. It's about, one, people who are higher geared and doing extra content inspire players. It's about motivation more than anything. It's not about that player being the special snowflake. I know, I've been there, okay? I was gear capped and several times throughout World of Warcraft. I was actually gear capped. And people used to come up to me and say things like, where did you get that shield? Especially when I had the Bulwark of Azeroth, okay? I was like the second person on the server to get it. Where did you get that? How can I get there? And that's not the bit that interested me. That's not a bit interested in me, and I'm sure people love that. I'm sure people love coming up to them saying, where did you get that? Oh my god. And they kind of like that ego stroke. But in fact, it was the people saying, how do I get to fight Illidan? How do I get to do that? And it's like, well, you've got to start early days and you've got to work your way up. It's about the inspiration and motivation that does come from seeing people of higher gear. It's not about me being a special snowflake. In fact, the biggest counter to that is the fact that I do not raid at the moment. If it did come to the case where people were special snowflakes, which is generally the way people try to reiterate this, wouldn't affect me at all. Okay? Doesn't matter to me. Don't care. What I do like is the inspiration that comes from that, because it allows people to get on a journey. In before journey, right? It's all about the journey. Well done, Dutch. It starts their journey, right? This is what you could be. This is what you could be. And I think this is a good testament to why PvP right now is one of the most popular mediums of streaming and producing content for World of Warcraft, is you can actually see a huge difference in the level of skill and play. You don't have that in PvE right now, and PvE is the central core of the game, and like it or not, PvP is a huge, enormous part, but PvE has always been the overwhelming side of it. Even when I was PvPing, I knew that. And it's interesting that that is the most popular thing, because people can recognize a great player. You can recognize a great player, and there is a journey, and it's only listed by rating. You can have all the gear, but your rating matters, and therefore there is no catch-up with PvP. It doesn't exist. There's the gear catch-up, but that's not what it's about. It's about your rating and how high up you get, and your titles. That kind of cool. The Lord likes the catch-up system. Need to gear my pally, going 500. I'm going to 500 after like 1 week at 90. Kind of makes the point. Kind of makes the point. Easy answer to catch up mechanics. Bad players want gear and feel like they're the best, which keeps them into the game's cash money for Blizz. The catch up system, I don't think it does. I think it's actually detrimental. That's my point. I think the catch up system, although it seems like what players want, it's one of the things. It's what players think they want. I don't think it's what they actually need, though, and I don't think it's actually good for them. The point proves that is that people are subscribing and leaving. The fact that you can get the gear, you can farm LFR for weeks and have a moderate amount of gear, cool, I wouldn't do that, means that it's just not there. The gear is given to you on a plate, and therefore it's irrelevant. The gear is down to the look of the draw inside LFR. Everybody's seen that guy who's geared up after 2 runs, and then the other guy who's not had a single drop after 8 runs. I don't think gear is the big plus. Are we chasing gear on our alts to enter other LFRs to do a little bit of raiding? Maybe. Maybe. Or if we had a system that made it easier to get into raiding but not to catch up to current content, but something like with 5.2 releases, I know it has, Heroic Dungeons now drop 2 items per boss. I think the overall, I think it's all about looking at what's the easy solution and what's the real solution, right? Gear, in many people's eyes, is the be-all and end-all. We can't kill this boss, gear issue. We can't do this, gear issue. I can't get there because of gear, right? And gear is like the simple go-to. It's like step 1, what's my problem? It's gear. No one really considers what's step 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that's where the real problem lies. Long term, that's where your issue lies. A lot of gear is a great way to cover up holes in your raids, and a lot of guilds have holes in their raids. Gear, for me, is a terrible solution to anything. I think gear and easy accessible gear is actually a really, really bad idea. I don't think it allows you to see exactly how well your character's scaled up. I don't think it overall makes you feel more powerful. I've noticed recently, I went on my Warlock, I went from about 40k DPS to 130k DPS in 2 days. That's far too fast for me to really sink in, even at my level, of how cool it is to gear up. It was lost on me because I got so many upgrades so fast that I just went, now I'm just really powerful. And then you go up to the guys who are doing 300k DPS, right? You're doing 300 over a whole boss fight. I saw recent World of Vlogs of Horadon with several people pulling off well over 300k DPS, and the numbers become meaningless. If you throw a lot of gear at people, the power and the joy that comes from getting item upgrades is completely lost, I feel. But on top of that, you can say, well, it's not the same in normal and heroic. Well, Ghostcrawler came back and said on Twitter there is no such thing as a 25-man normal guild anymore. Think about that for a second. That entire section of raiding doesn't exist. It's gone. There are some, but very, very few. 25-man normal completely obliterated off the map. 25-man guilds that still exist are heroic progression, and then it skips down to 10-man normal. It's well worth a consideration that that is the situation. That is what's happened. 25-man normal and guilds looking to start doing that is gone. Now, one might question whether or not Blizzard is still designing all the encounters based off 25-man normal. They can't be, right? They said recently they still were. Do you believe that? Do you believe that their starting point for designing your raid bosses is 25-man normal, the one piece of content across all the tiers that does not get raided, that doesn't get played? It's a huge waste of content, right? Huge waste of content. My guild is sucking on fights and fucking it off until our DPS has better gear instead of actually improving our gameplay. It's the one simple answer. Now, you can't change that. That's one thing you need to remember. You cannot change that aspect of the game. No matter who joins the game, gear will be a priority. Gear will always be the solution to many problems, okay? That's not something you can change because it works in every single game, all right? It's just standard gaming knowledge that gear makes you better. Unfortunately, it's never really the case. And catch-up mechanics allow you to not really progress properly. And in fact, catch-up allows you to skip so much gameplay, which is the real problem, right? A lot of people wonder why the top guilds are so much better. I'm talking the top 3 or 4 are so much better than, say, the top 10. And then the top 20. And by the time you reach the hundreds guilds, which is the mid-level guilds, where the real problem lies, this is where the real issue lies in the mid-level guilds. Why are they so much better? People don't really appreciate how much more they have practiced every single mechanic in this game. So even from the stance of they killed the boss first, means they killed it more times. They probably wiped a little bit more, but still in a shorter time period. And then they get to do it more and more and more and more. They might be raiding a shorter time, but in that time they're accumulating far more knowledge and experience than anybody else could ever do. Ergo, when they go into the next tier, they farmed your content considerably more. Multiply that by several tiers of raiding. Wow, they have actually raided and experienced the gameplay, which is the important part, the gameplay, so much more than you could have possibly hoped to do so. They may have raided it on alts. In fact, if it's one of the top guilds, they've definitely raided it on alts. And therefore, they've not only seen different aspects of the fight, something I always encourage you to do is if you're making an alt, make it completely different to your main. If your main is a warrior, roll a resto healer. Roll a ranged class. So they do this and they see all the different aspects of the fight and how to deal with various mechanics on a hugely increased basis. The gameplay is what's important. And skipping over and catch-ups skips the gameplay. And the gameplay is what makes you good. Take a game like Binding of Isaac, a game I'm very much into right now. I can get really overpowered items and still die. I still die now. And that is the reason because I don't have enough gameplay under my belt. Doesn't matter what gear I get in that game. Doesn't matter how powerful it is. I can still die very, very easily because I need more gameplay. Fuck that, I hate rolling rest though. But also, I was listening to CTR and they were talking about class-specific things and how long it takes to make class-specific quests. True. Bosses, etc. Apparently, instead of more class things like Locked and Fire, they make and spent time making town long. I would really like class-specific things instead of another zone. I think the class-specific stuff, if we look back to vanilla, there was only really 2. They were great. I can tell you that content, although it's difficult to make, there's an issue that Blizzard is right about, okay? I've openly complained about them saying we haven't got enough artists to do everything you want. It's kind of a bit of a pussy answer, and the general comeback is we can't just hire anybody. You can hire whoever you want, let's be honest. And I understand that something like the Warlock quest is a huge amount of content that instantly negates so many people. Like Raden. Raden's a great example. Raden is a relatively complex boss to design. Nobody's going to see it. And if you're designing that encounter, you have to bear that in mind. As somebody who's done the Warlock class quest multiple times now, I can tell you that if you do it a second or third time, it's actually pretty shit. Content seems great once you do it once. But from Blizzard's point of view, this is content people are generally going to do once, maybe. If they have a Warlock and if they can be asked. So that's a lot of time and effort that goes into content that nobody is going to see. Right? The amount of people who are going to see that content outside of a YouTube video is really small. Really, really small. But that's not the point. Because the rumor and the mystique and the mythos of it is amazing. And that inspires everybody. How many people do you think rolled a Warlock to try it? It doesn't matter what the straight up numbers are. Oh, well, we shouldn't put too much effort into this because not a lot of people are initially going to see it. That's not the point. Raden is a great example. You know why? Raden should have shit on every single fucking boss in that instance. Because that's what it needs to be. It needs to be inspiring. It's like, fuck, I want to see that. I want to see that. I want to see that. Raden should have been fucking spectacular. It should have been off the fucking page. It doesn't matter that people aren't going to see it immediately. It doesn't matter that it's not accessible in LFR. When there is a boss that's like, dude, I think it's fucking great. That is amazing. People want to see it. And that's what progresses people. That's what progresses people. The reason Nax is talked about so much in the Sunwell is because not a lot of people got to see it, but those who were there came back and said, dude, that shit was incredible. Kill Jaden is awesome. This is awesome. The Lich King is a hell of a fight. Inspired lots and lots of people to go raiding. They may never see it. They may never see it, but that's not the point, because they'll stick around and they'll try hard, and suddenly you've got a community building. Suddenly you've got a fan base of people who want to raid. Now you've got people who want to enjoy your content. And now you've got new players who previously didn't understand the raiding scene, getting into it and getting their first kill and like, dude, that was fucking awesome. Now I know why people have played this game for 6 years. Once they get that kill under their belt, they're here for life. Most people who did a progression kill on Ragnaros original, as trivial as that fight is, who went back and did that and had that feeling of progressing and killing it, are still here to this day. And they're the people who keep coming back. They leave and then they come back because it sticks in your mind for a fucking long time, that kind of stuff. Really, really cool. Really, really cool. Mine too, in fact. Yeah, most people will agree. Favorite encounter ever. So good. It is. And that's what Raden should have been. But the statistic is, it's the only issue that we're trying to solve here is the long-term solutions. A quick fix isn't to get rid of LFR. You can't do that, right? You can't do that. You can't just go quick fix, let's kill LFR. That doesn't work long term. It doesn't. It's not what happens. What we need is something to push people to go and do something. To say, did you know this shit's in the game? Did you know it's there? Have you seen a video of it? How cool is that? If you want to see stuff like that, because we're going to do it again in the future. It doesn't matter. You see, it's a means to an end. Let's say Raden was... Let's swap Raden and Lei Shen. Everybody, I assume everybody here and watching this video has seen the Lei Shen heroic kill and what went into that and how cool it was at the end and the screams that were involved with that. Let's swap them. What if the last hidden secret boss is Lei Shen himself? Like, you didn't get to fight him. Can you imagine that? It doesn't matter that no one gets to see him right now because we're in this state we're in now where people are dropping in and dropping out of the game randomly. But we say, hey, this is the fight. We're going to do something like that in the future. Oh, then maybe next time I want to be in that position. Buy me a new computer, Mike. I want a 25-man raid. I can say, I just want to point out again the emails of people who've followed what I've said and joined a 25-man guild. The emails you guys send me are magnificent. I thank you very much. Gear has definitely changed so much since the end of Wrath of the Lich King. I remember leveling my rogue to 18. I was fully geared Wrath Rogue. He wanted to duel me at level 79. We did, and I won simply because I knew how to play. But oh, you beat him. Nice. I'm 2400 rated player now. Cool. And I find myself struggling playing my main in arenas, trying hard and pretty much playing the game of my life because of the level and gear difference. The only issue is the gear jump. I never liked that. I never liked the gear jump. I actually hated it, which is why I don't like gear as like a go-to kind of thing. Not to say, but we need some difference there. It's a tough spot to hit, and this is something that probably Blizzard would respond with. It's the same thing. It's just hitting the sweet spot isn't easy. There was a problem, although they did have a journey to go on when you joined in sort of like vanilla time or you joined in TVCs, you had a journey to go on. There was only the catch up at the end near the Sunwell, and it wasn't great in TVC. Is that you still went on this journey, you still did your Karazhan, you still did all this stuff, but the problem was, especially in vanilla, and gladly we've moved away from that, is you could get smashed to pieces very, very easily, and a lot of people abuse that, because you got to remember there's a lot of dicks in World of Warcraft, right? There's a huge amount of dicks. You throw 8 million people into a game where they can become overpowered, Just go to Hellfire Peninsula. There are a lot of dicks in this game, right? There are a lot of dicks. And that creates all sorts of crazy problems. That causes all sorts of crazy problems, is people being able to smash other people to pieces. It's never fun, it's never enjoyable. And that kind of gear difference does make an issue. It does make it a problem. It does make it a problem. One issue I want to bring up, this topic, what are we on? 37 minutes? Wow. I don't want to close this out early. I want to talk about this. But it is Ghost night tonight. Ghosty's on his way around tonight to do some work here. One issue that came up that I hadn't considered. Now, this is an interesting topic, and I don't want to do another daily on this. I want to leave it as is. There are too many guilds now. Now, I want you to consider that for a moment. There are too many guilds now. This is sort of something that's spurred on, and it's not something I'd even considered. I'd even considered as actually being a problem. More guilds means more community, right? That it seems on the face of it like a good thing. But it's not, is it? It's actually a terrible thing. It's actually really, really bad. There's a definite issue when we've seen, how many stories have we seen of all powerful GMs on Drama Friday taking control? It's very, very easy to become a guild master. It's very easy to stand in trade and start sucking people up, and you can get a macro from any website which will spam invite hundreds and hundreds of people to your guild. Guild repairs was the first thing that spurred this on. Guild repairs. Lots and lots of guilds that started up literally to take the free money that would be generated by the guild. But now it's the raiding side of it also exists. So where one might say, well, there's only a lot of guilds because of things like stealing all the money, this isn't true. Every man and his dog, with a half a clue, can get himself a 10-man guild. And it happens a lot. And near enough every Drama Friday we have involves people making several or joining several 10-man guilds in a very short time period. Over the course of one expansion, we've seen people join 7+ 10-man guilds. This is a big problem because all these 10-man guilds cannot possibly hope to progress at any reasonable level. Hundreds upon hundreds of new 10-man guilds. Now I'm going to do an example here. I did get the number before, but I want to be exact, so I don't want to be a complete dick. I checked Sylvanas, and there were so many 10-man guilds recorded for this tier that it was absolutely unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. And they can't possibly hope to progress in any fashion. You cannot possibly hope to progress. It causes you great difficulty. Huge amounts of difficulty. Because there's players just dropping in and out and swapping and moving around, and nobody is getting anywhere. Nobody's getting anywhere. So if I go to Sylvanas now, we're sorry, Firefox has crashed. Well, you know what, Firefox? Why don't you go fuck yourself? Get Chrome. In before Chrome. In before Safari. In before Safari. Oh, funny times. Funny times. In before Safari. Netscape. Alta Vista. That the sheer amount of guilds is actually causing a great deal of issue. What was the alternative? Well, the alternative was the 40 manners. The 40 manners was the great alternative because previously you'd expect to see something around, on a really high populated realm, maybe 10 to 15 40-man guilds. Really? And then all sorts of casual guilds below there who weren't raiding. But you'd expect only 10 to 15. Now, those 10 to 15 consumed up to thousands of players between them, right? And then after the casual guilds, you had some huge, enormous guilds where players weren't floating backwards and forwards, and certainly not segregated. Big problem that comes from having hundreds of 10-man guilds as opposed to a low number of big guilds is you segregate off so many people. A lot of people have this odd belief, a really strange belief, that when they find someone they like in a guild, an early guild, one of the first guilds they join, they are with them forever. This is my guild. This is my home. This is where I am. This is where I will stay until the end of time. I imagine so many of you are in a guild that was probably the first guild, if not the earliest guild you ever joined. And you stayed there because that was your guild. That was where you went. That was it. I was joining this guild. I met a couple of nice folks. It was cool. And then you stayed there. Now, the older players will tell you, fuck that. But even they did it at the time. I joined my first guild, level 55, right? I joined my first guild. I was there until nearly the end of vanilla. Because that was my guild. I felt loyalty to them. I felt that even though they were fucking terrible, I was promoted to officer in like the first 2 raids. I was then the raid leader. They were called the Berserkers, right? Everything about modern me now tells me that that was dog shit. This is why I try and transfer that information to you. I joined a guild that fucking sucked. I was instantly promoted. All the classic things. All the fucking classic signs of failure. I did that, and I stayed with them for nearly, what, a year and a half? Something like that. I stayed with them forever because that was my guild. When good players, some people who are in Stark now, I don't know if they're in the chat, left that guild, I felt betrayed. Genuinely felt betrayed. When we went from farming Onyxia, this happened. Went from farming Onyxia to wiping on Onyxia for not having enough people for Onyxia, which was usually the one where we had 60 people waiting to join because it was free loot. When we did that, I stuck with them. I stuck by them. I tried to repair the damage. I tried to do everything. I did everything I could possibly do to keep that guild together. And for no reason. Because that was my guild. Nothing more. It was just the invite that popped on my screen. I had a conversation with somebody and he said, would you like to join? And I said yes. And that was it. And I met great people there. Met great people there who are now currently in Stark. And that was a long time ago, right? That was a very long time ago. But now what we have is tons and tons and tons of guilds. Now I want to point this out. So let's have a look. Wow. Okay. I don't want to get this wrong. There are currently on Sylvanas something like 100 and what am I on? 150? Jesus. It goes into the hundreds of guilds. The hundreds of guilds. Hundreds of guilds. Hundreds! Hundreds and hundreds of guilds. All 10-man. All spurring up everywhere. Who've killed something like 1 out of 12 on normal. Hundreds of guilds. This is actually a big problem. And it's something I'd never really considered. Is that there are just too many guilds. Where do you go? Who has a name for themselves? Well, it's like the hardcore race. Once it gets into the hundreds and hundreds, the only people who matter on your server are the number 1s. Maybe the number 2s. That's it. Everyone else is just irrelevant, lost in the mire, and you never feel good about where you are. There's no prestige there. You either get in the top guild or you don't, and that's it. And again, the community fails and falls down at that. So many fucking guilds. So many guilds. We're in a state there where second guild sucks. There's no real... That's the point. There is no way of knowing a good guild. So why is the motivation there? Where is the motivation? Where's it coming from? That's just stupid. How are you supposed to choose a good guild? You can't. That's what it's going to be. That is the situation. Whereas you would have a choice of 4 or 5 guilds out of the 15 who were really good, and the rest of them were all at relative progress. People ask me now, how do I get into raiding? How can I not say you should gear up in LFR as fast as possible, post the world of logs, and then you'll probably get in a guild? How can I not say that as the game works? But is it good? Probably not, right? Evidence kind of points that way. Tough decisions need to be made. Loot whoring. The family friend guilds are missing out. Are they saying, though, that the family friend guilds are missing out? No, the family friend guilds have always existed. But what? They always existed, but in fact they used to be subsets within the guild. You've probably seen this. A lot of the 25-man guilds have a casual rank. Probably some of the 10-mans have that. I don't really know why. But these lower down guilds have casual family friend guilds. But the family friend section, Darkstorm's a good example of this. My Cataclysm guild. Darkstorm has an enormous friend side. But it's a guild that's been around since vanilla and still lives by those sort of old philosophies. There are, what, 3 or 4 times more casual players in the guild than there are raiders. And they're all friends and family and old raiders and stuff like that, and they just hang around. But that's sort of a 40-man feeling. Whereas 10-man's always new guys coming in and out, disappearing, dropping out. I would love to, if I had the time, I would go through the stats of these hundreds of guilds and see how many have been made and collapsed under their own weight. Made and collapsed under their own weight. Like Stark is a 40-man based guild, essentially. That is how it works. There is tons of players in there. Not raiders, just chilling, just having a chat, just having fun. But there's a community in Stark that you don't really see. That you don't really see anymore. We kind of got off topic a little bit, is the solutions to this. The solutions to this. But there's too many guilds is actually, it is a thing, right? It is a thing. I hope you can see that. Being there too many guilds segregates off people into really small portions, which is interesting. it's interesting to me that there's with so many people segregated off, and they will feel that commitment to the guild. They will feel that loyalty that should exist based on nothing, based on the fact that that was who invited them, and therefore don't move around. And then the players who do move around, go playing around all over the place. Build a super guild. I don't think so. Stark has 400 plus different accounts. It's pretty crazy. Many small guilds community compared to a large stable guild. Yeah, I would totally agree with that. Many small guilds is just, it's just not there. It's not there, segregated off. So I imagine all the egos. Yeah, imagine all the 392. Yeah, 40-man raiding, would that be a solution? I don't know. It's more the case of catch-up I don't get. And nobody really countered that, which I found interesting. Of all the emails I got and all the comments on the YouTube video, I read through them all. No one came back with a reason for the catch-up. Other than alts, I think. Which is... It's neither here nor there for me, but I can see how a lot of people would like that for their alts. They like to have some nice alts who could do some decent damage and go in and, you know, take it easy and have fun. LFR is very alt-friendly. Can you imagine a system? I had a thought of this while I was on the throne. I was on the throne of thoughts. What if you could only access an LFR if you completed the normal mode of that raid? I'm going to leave you with this. This is going to be the last question of the day. What if you could only access Mogasham Vault's LFR if you completed that half of Mogasham Vault's? What do you think about that? What would happen? That would work? Do you think so? I think that would be fucking hell. I mean on your account. On your account. Yes, the account, not that character. Okay, I get the no's. Let's have some reasons. The point of LFR would be for alts, right? But again, and then, okay, let's put it this way. Imagine this was the system. Just bear with me while I try and explain to you, right? LFR, in general, is always one tier behind. So now Throne of Thunder comes out. LFR from all the original tier of Mr. Pandaria is now open to everybody. The Throne of Thunder LFR, however, right now, is only accessible by accounts that have cleared the normal mode of Throne of Thunder. Then you can do the Throne of Thunder LFR. Everybody else is free. If you don't have to kill anything, you can do the previous tier. You can do the previous tier. If like when the Throne of Thunder patch came out, everybody got access to Mogasham Vaults, Heart of Fear, Terrace of the Underspring. You've all got access to it. No problems. No attunement required. This is kind of an attunement thing. But for the Throne of Thunder LFR, you can only do it on your alts if you've completed the normal. Your account. Now, I think that would destroy the game. Imagine the queues. Would it be terrible? Would the queues be terrible? Would the queues, in fact, be really good because you kind of know the kind of players you're going to be in there? If that was the case, and you had to be attuned to the current LFR, the current tier of ratings LFR, who would be in there? Only people who've actually cleared it on normal would be in there. Do you think the queues would be bad? They'd be slower than they are now, no doubt. Slower than they are now. Oh, there would be no fail. Let's not get it wrong. If that was the case, LFRs would be smooth as shit. LFR would be smooth as a fucking baby's ass, right? If everybody who had to be in the current tier of LFR had to have attuned themselves. I think it would kill the game, though. I think it's one of those changes that, if it was implemented, it'd have to be really slowly. Would it be good overall? I haven't decided. It was one of those quick thoughts that entered my head. You know them things that pops up? I'm sure if I gave it another couple of hours thoughts, I could think of a multitude of problems in it right now. Initial problems, everybody would claim it is massively unfair. I pay to see the same as everyone else. It was an old argument in vanilla is I pay to see the content. This is kind of one of the things that led us to the LFR in the first place. I pay my dollars every month. I want to see the same content as everyone else. Okay, so Bliss said, you know what? You're right. Kind of. Although I've never known anybody... Everybody pays the same to buy... what's a good game? Dark Souls, right? Everybody bought Dark Souls for the same price. Give or take sales. Not everybody's going to finish that game, right? Do they complain and say, I bought the game, I should be able to finish it? It's kind of a stupid argument. There's a lot of holes in it. There's a lot of holes in it. I don't get it wrong. It was just a quick thought that I had. But there's various things that could be done. But remember, you only have to do certain parts. That would be the thing. Like, Mogasham Vaults is split up into 2 parts. Throne of Thunder is 4. Right? Throne of Thunder is 4. So you would have to literally only have done that section of the raid. No one's saying you need to kill Lei Shen to get into LFR, right? No one's saying to do that. What we're saying is, if you've killed what's the first 3 bosses in the Throne of Thunder LFR? Jinrock, Horadon, what's that other gangster? Oh, the Council. So once you've killed Council normal mode on 10 or 25, then you can go into the LFR, right? On your alts, on anybody you want to do. We're talking about it in sections. Certainly not, you've got to kill Lei Shen before you can do Horadon LFR. That makes no sense. But it's about the inspiration. That's what I'm trying to think of ways. I was trying to think of ways and good ideas that would motivate and inspire people to not just log in and do LFR and log the fuck out, see everything in the first week. I totally disagree with anybody being able to pay a subscription, log in after doing nothing in the previous expansion, or the previous patch, play for a couple of weeks, see everything, and including killing the last boss, right? Which is just insane to me. To kill the last boss in any form whatsoever, to even be in his fucking room, I find that totally ridiculous. And then just unsub until the next patch. I find that completely fucking ridiculous and bizarre. I find that crazy. But I'll leave you with that. I don't think we're going to touch this subject again, because it can kind of get ranty. I don't want to get ranty. I don't want to be whiny. I hope it hasn't been whiny. I didn't think it was. I think it was just talking about some good ideas. And a lot of things thrown in by you guys. I want to read the chat back afterwards. Good thing about having the chat window is I can reread it. No doubt I've missed some really good comments. No doubt I've missed some really good comments. Also, the people asking for shirts in different colours. I know several of you have emailed me asking for our shirts. Like, this is the gold and silver. Gold and blue. Can't speak. Asking for different colours. GD Systems right now is in the chat. He's the man to speak to. And you can do any kind of colour you want for any of our merchandise. I'm going to be streaming after this until Ghosty arrives. So I'm going to take a 5-minute break. Good show, though. I really liked all your contribution. I like all your contribution. I think that's pretty cool. Thank you very much. Did I say what? Did I miss something? Audio in the background? I don't know. Does some advert play? Oh, it's my own daily. I'm watching my own daily, so no doubt I've just ruined everybody. Nothing better than watching your own videos, right? Nothing better. Alright guys, take it easy. I will be streaming in 5 minutes. We're going to be playing Faster Than Light, so if you're interested to see what happens to Dale, now that Bill's dead, poor Bill, we're going to be playing some Faster Than Light in a few minutes. Alright guys, take it easy and be good. Bye.